Hi, guys. So we are on episode 6 today of Unbound and Rewritten. And the title is The Inner Child, the little girl who never stopped waiting. What if the reactions you are having today aren't coming from the adult version of you? What if they're coming from a younger version of you? The little girl who felt abandoned, the little girl who wasn't protected, the little girl who learned she had to earn love. The little girl who felt unseen, unheard, or unsafe. What if she's still there? And what if she's been trying to get your attention all along? Today's episode is about the inner child, the wounded parts of ourselves that often continue carrying pain long after the events themselves have passed. Welcome back to Unbound and Rewritten with Laura. Today's conversation is one of the most important conversations I've had on my healing journey. Because for many years, I thought healing meant fixing myself. I thought something was wrong with me. I thought I needed to work harder, be stronger, or somehow become a different person. What I eventually discovered was this: I wasn't broken. I was carrying wounded parts of myself that had never been given what they needed. And many of those wounds belonged to the little girl inside of me. When people hear the term inner child, they sometimes think it's strange or overly simplified. But the truth is, every one of us has younger versions of ourselves living within us. The child who felt loved, the child who felt rejected, the child who felt safe, and the child who felt afraid. The child who learned lessons about themselves and the world. And often those lessons continue influencing our lives long into adulthood. The inner child isn't about staying stuck in the past. It's about understanding how the past continues showing up in the present. Children are incredibly adaptable. When something painful happens, they make meaning out of it. A child who isn't protected may learn, I'm on my own. And that was me. A child who is consistently criticized may learn, I'm not good enough. A child who is abandoned may learn, people leave. A child who is abused may learn, I'm not safe. That's also me. The problem is that these beliefs don't magically disappear when we become adults. We carry them. And often we build our lives around them. For much of my life, I was the fighter, the protector, the caretaker, the truth teller. Those roles helped me survive. Absolutely they did, when I needed it. But there comes a time when you make certain choices, you remove certain people, you do the things that you need to do to be on your own, to be by yourself. You create the life where you're capable of that. And for me, my safe haven has been my home, where I get to call the shots, make the rules, have my alone time, just feel safe. I don't have to worry about anybody else popping off, basically. But underneath those roles was a little girl who desperately wanted what every child deserves: safety, love, protection, comfort, consistency. She wanted someone to tell her she mattered. She wanted someone to tell her the abuse wasn't her fault. Thank God I knew, because I could have went down a totally opposite road. She wanted someone to choose her, and thank God I chose myself. For years, I kept trying to find those things outside of myself. Through relationships, through achievement. For me, it wasn't relationships. It was definitely achievement. I remember when I was 6 and 7 years old, when I was in a foster home in Lambertville, Michigan, which is Monroe County. And at that school, so I was in competition baton, dance cheerleading, which is competition, ballet, which was competition for me, gymnastics, which was competition. So I was in all these things all at the same time, and that's absolutely what saved me. So I didn't know back then, but being in all those different dance classes that I loved so much and enjoyed was a somatic practice. meaning that I was able to express what I was going through my body. I didn't know it back then. But that's one of the times I was going through the most difficult time in my life with abuse, but yet the most happiest time of my life. And I know that had a lot to do with it. And so sometimes, we really have to sit in stillness and look back at some things to maybe understand some things that were going on and maybe some new realizations. And that's how you transform. That's how you grow. So yeah, that was a huge one for me. I love dancing. Anybody who knows me and has been around me knows I love dancing. I don't care if it's a bar, if it's a club, whatever. Everybody disappears and it's just me in that room and the music. I don't care what I look like. I'm just dancing. That is literally the most spiritual thing that I can do for myself, and when I feel the most myself and the most happiest. And so that would be an example of something that you could do when you're going through something. That is a form of getting out what you're going through out of your body, if you're somebody who can't express it externally. So let me just repeat this again. For years, I kept trying to find those things outside of myself. So through relationships, achievement, through helping others, through proving my worth. But healing taught me something powerful. The little girl inside me wasn't looking for perfection. She was looking for connection. Connection. One of the most transformative parts of healing is learning to give ourselves what we never received. Not because the past didn't matter. Not because we should simply get over it, which I hear that all the time. People say, just get over it. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. But because healing often requires us to become the safe person we never had. The loving voice, the encouraging voice, the protective voice, the compassionate voice, the parent we needed. For many of us, healing means learning to speak to ourselves differently, to stop criticizing, to stop shaming, to stop abandoning ourselves, and to start nurturing the wounded parts of us that have been carrying pain for years. I remember realizing that so much of my adult life was being driven by childhood wounds. The fear of rejection, so that's why I was shy, never wanted to, I remember, and I think I'm just now getting out of it, to be honest with you, for sure. Because I have a big mouth now and I'm so loud and I definitely speak my mind. But I remember when I would talk or do something and all eyes were on me, I'd be quiet. I never wanted to be center of attention. I never wanted all eyes to be on me. It was so uncomfortable. So the fear of rejection, the fear of abandonment, the need to prove my worth, the need to earn love, the belief that I had to carry everything myself, those weren't adult truths. Those were childhood survival strategies. And once I could see them, I could begin healing them. I want you to take a moment and think about the child you once were. What did they need? What did they deserve? What did they never receive? What are they still longing for today? And if that child were sitting beside you right now, what would you want them to know? Maybe you'd tell them, you are lovable, you are worthy, you are enough. You didn't deserve what happened to you. You are safe now. Maybe those are words you need to hear too. Healing isn't about becoming someone new. It's about reconnecting with who you've always been beneath the pain. It's about returning to yourself. It's about helping the wounded parts of you finally feel safe enough to rest. And it's about recognizing that the little girl inside you was never the problem. She was doing the best she could with what she had. The little girl inside you doesn't need perfection. She doesn't need you to have everything figured out. She doesn't need you to be healed overnight. She simply needs you to stop abandoning her. She needs you to listen, to care, and to show up. Just like any child in this world. They don't care about those things. They literally want the simplest shit. And to remind her that she's no longer alone. So there's this exercise I once did by Carl, I don't know if it's Carl Jung, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I've heard it both ways. I call it Carl Jung. So I remember sitting in my bedroom one day. I read a book from him, many actually, and I don't remember which book it was, but there was an exercise in there. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll try it. But I didn't believe anything was going to happen, honestly. But something profound actually did. And I would like to recommend it to you guys to try to do if you're connected to this episode today. So for example, what he says to do is to get a pen and paper and put that pen in your left hand. And you're going to start having inner dialogue with the inner child, with yourself, the inner child part of you. And so what you're going to do is, have that dialogue and let her know that it's okay and that, you're going to protect her and all those things. But really, really deeply, deeply connect with her. And once you have that inner dialogue with her, I want you to ask her what she wants you to know. What does she want you to hear? And without thinking or anything, just nothing in your brain whatsoever. Just start writing. I remember I did that. It was so profound. And I guess I should have thought about it, but I didn't think about it until right now that I was going to have this conversation. I would have brought my picture up with you. But I do remember it was a little girl sitting, her legs were crossed, and she just kept saying, I'm so scared. I'm so scared. She even wrote in her handwriting, which was messy, little hand, 5-year-old handwriting. It was crazy, but it was so profound in that moment. So I just highly recommend for anybody, even if you don't believe in it, even if you're not open to it. I wasn't open to it. I'm like, yeah, okay, what is that going to do? So profound. It worked. If she's ready to talk to you, you will receive something. So thank you for joining me for episode 6 of Unbound and Rewritten with Laura. If this episode resonated with you, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who may need this reminder today. And remember, you were never meant to stay bound, and I'll see you in the next episode. Have a good day.